Let's do a pretty simple stock market analysis on Python. Let's begin with Google and Microsoft. We will pull out the closing price of Google and Microsoft. So to do that, we need to load the libraries. So these are the libraries which you will need, and if you have not installed them already, you'll have to install them first and then use these commands to import those libraries. Then after that, you also need to install Yahoo Finance, Y Finance, because generally it's not installed by a lot of people. So that is why if you have not installed, I have specifically mentioned that line over here. Then import Yahoo Finance or Y Finance. So I've already done all my analysis on this Jupyter notebook. So I'll restart the kernel so that I can show you each and every step. So let's load the libraries. Our analysis will start from 21st of August 2016 to 20th of August 2021. So around 5 years. We can load the Google and Microsoft stock market or share market data using this command. YF meaning your Yahoo Finance, because we have imported Yahoo Finance as YF. You just load the stock market data of Google and Microsoft and then we can carry the discussion. So we load the Google and Microsoft data. We put the start and end using these variables start end which we have defined over here, and the tickers which are included over here. And as you can see, it shows 100% one of one completed 2 times because we have loaded stock market data of 2 companies. Then let's plot them using the close prices. That's why I've used over here close. You see, Google is the variable for share market data of Google. So I write Google and in the bracket I have to put a close because I want to just show the closing price, not the open price or the days high or days low. Same for Microsoft, and then we will plot it. That's why dot plot is used over here. And obviously you can put a size here. I have given 9:6 size, and yes, just show the plot. If I look at the plot, I can see that the scale of data is pretty different. Google and Microsoft are pretty different in their prices, and as a result we cannot really compare them in this chart. So we can do a kind of normalization. We can divide the share price of Google and Microsoft by their initial price. Initial price meaning the price they had on 21st August 2016. So essentially what we are after is the multiple of the beginning price, or you can even think of it like a growth number. What is the growth in their price from the beginning period? So let's just plot that curve. So if we plot that curve, we know that Google and Microsoft has a pretty similar kind of a trajectory, though their growth is really not of the same order, but still they have a pretty similar trajectory. It means there would be a pretty strong relation between them. So they have a 0.9433 correlation, which is pretty high and pretty understandable as well based on this graph which we have obtained. Moving on from Google and Microsoft, we can do some kind of an analysis for Indian companies as well. Let's load the TCS data in the same time window and let's plot the closing price. We can also plot the volume by using the volume in the bracket over here. So this is a volume plot, and then we can do further one more thing, that we understand that this is the share price or stock price of TCS and it will have a lot of daily fluctuations. What about smoothing them out? So to smooth those fluctuations out, we can use a 50-day moving average by using this MA50 in the bracket over here. This will look like this. You can see that it goes
up, then down, then goes up, then down, then goes up, then down, then again goes up, down, up, down.
So this is how you can just look at the 50-day moving averages and have a better sense of what's happening in the stock prices. Now let's also load the data for Infosys and Wipro, and you might have pretty much guessed it that we will do a plot. If you look at the plot again, we can see that Wipro here is on a pretty different scale than TCS and Infosys. So we need to again normalize the numbers based on their initial share price, the beginning period share price. So we will divide the prices by the beginning price, and then it will give us some kind of a growth curve. So if you look at the growth curve of TCS, Infosys and Wipro, we see that though growth curve of TCS, Infosys, Wipro seen together looks pretty different, but if we just think about the green and the orange curve, we will see that the green and orange are following each other very closely, and those are Infosys and your Wipro. So let's plot Infosys and Wipro separately and ignore TCS for a while. And our understanding is further strengthened by this plot. We can see that the orange and blue, because right now we have changed the plots, the color has changed for Infosys. Infosys and Wipro now you can pretty much observe that are moving very close to each other, or they are like tracking each other out. So how about again calculating their correlation? And let's take it a bit further ahead and let's make a correlation matrix out of TCS, Infosys and Wipro. So to achieve that, we'll need to make a data frame out of the closing prices. So we are using TCS closing, Infosys closing, Wipro closing to make a data frame. And we can see that the data frame has been built. So let's just use the data frame stock close df which we have made dot core. It would give us the correlation matrix. Now you can pretty much see that the correlation between TCS and Infosys is 0.76, but the correlation between Wipro and Infosys is 0.964, which is pretty high. That really confirms the idea which we have got here, that Wipro and Infosys are moving together. We can also directly calculate the correlation of only Wipro and Infosys, which you might have already understood from the earlier steps, which is 0.964. So this was a basic stock market analysis which you can do in Python. And if you're interested in more content like this, or data science, or finance, or economics, or any kind of knowledge, do not forget to subscribe and hit the like.